Hey! Welcome back to another video. And as you know, there's a lot of things you can do in skateboarding, from really simple cruising to extremely technical tricks to car surfing, as I like to call it, or really whatever your imagination can think up. There seems to be an endless amount of possibilities of things to create and challenges to give yourself. But there are also some things that you just shouldn't do. Not because it might seem uncool, like pushing Mongo or mug grabbing, or obvious things that you shouldn't do, like being rude to other skaters. But instead, in this video, I'll be talking about the things that could cause you to either have a bad session, slower learning, or just simply knock your teeth out. So if you value having all your teeth, or whatever is left of them, or if you're looking for some tips that you probably haven't heard of yet, this video is just for you. So without taking up any more time, let's get right into it. Number 1. Inconsistent foot placement. As many of you know, there's a huge variety of tricks out there in skateboarding, and most of them rely on where you put your feet and also how you move them. And oftentimes you can end up doing a completely different trick, or just end up with different variations of the same trick if you change your foot placement just a little bit. Like, for example, if you want to have an ollie go a bit higher, put your front foot further back on the board, resulting in your foot having more room to drag your board up into the air. And while it is important to experiment with foot placement when you're just starting out, once you find your sweet spot, try your best to have your feet start off in the same place every time. You see, skateboarding is like 80% muscle memory. When you do a trick, you aren't constantly thinking of each step you're doing, and instead you're doing it in one continuous motion. So having your feet placed in the same spot of your board every time you do your trick will remove the factors that your foot placement might cause, and will help your body memorize the movement a lot better. Number 2, skating with old bearings. Okay, if you like to live on the edge, this one is just for you. If you don't replace or at least clean your bearings every few months, you have a very high chance of one of them exploding one day out of nowhere while you're trying to land a trick, causing your wheel to seize up and causing you to get flying forward and break all of your teeth. Okay, I'm definitely exaggerating this one just by a little bit, but that's personally what I constantly think of when I have a bearing that's making demon noises at me. And having a bearing actually break on you is really rare, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen, and when it does, you definitely won't expect it. But the much more important reason for not skating with really old bearings, or bushings too for that matter, is that it won't give you a consistent response. Like maybe one of your bearings has some dirt in it, and sometimes it causes it to seize up for just a little bit, or even just have a little bit more friction than one of the other wheels. And although the change may be minimal, that could be all it takes to throw you off your board. Also, remember what I was saying about muscle memory? Ideally, you want to remove as many factors as possible, especially when you're learning, so you have a consistent and reliable response to your board every time you do something on it. It's kind of like driving a car that's just been aligned versus driving a car that's been hauling ass through a gnarliest pothole in the IED-filled streets in Iraq.
Sammy, you are wrecking the car! Shut up!
With one, you'll get a balanced and predictable response, and with the other, it won't drive straight and you won't know when you're going to lose a wheel. Away from the car analogy, I just find that having fresh bearings improves my balance on my board, and it makes it easier for me to roll away from much sketchier situations. So if you've been out there skating on some 10-month-old bearings, it might be worth just buying some new ones and seeing how big the difference really is. Number 3, being afraid to skate new places that might intimidate you. Typically, if you spend a lot of your time skateboarding, you'll find out or run into some pretty cool spots. It could be anything from a skate park that you've never heard of, to a DIY project, to maybe even a really nice street spot. And oftentimes, these spots will be a lot more challenging than what you're used to, either because they're bigger, or just more grimy, or even because the locals there are intimidating.
I know the power of patriarchy. I know what men can do when they're angry.
But what you should never do is have one of those be a reason for you not to try a spot. For example, if you've only done 2 or 3 stairs before and you find a spot with a perfect 5 stair, don't think that you can't do it just because you've only been doing 3 stairs before. It's the perfect time to learn and challenge yourself. The same thing goes if you find a park with bigger features than what you're used to. Just take it slow at first, feeling it out and getting used to a new challenge, and ideally by the end of the session, you won't be intimidated by a spot anymore, and you'll be able to come back there again and have an even better time. Number 4, just setting it. Now, while challenging yourself is a good thing and trying new things outside your comfort zone will improve your skating, that doesn't mean that you should just go out carelessly and send something bigger than what you're used to, just to get over with. Or just because you think that you're actually a better skater than you really are. It's always a good idea to do a few practice runs before fully sending anything, unless you're an insane pro, in which you probably aren't even watching this video. but sending it will typically only remind you of how unforgiving skateboarding is. Now, this does not mean that you shouldn't try new things, of course, like in the previous point, but let's say the difficulty of the things you're used to are small park features, and then you for some reason decide that you're just gonna send El Toro. And let me tell you, you're gonna be in for an ugly surprise, which is gonna be your face when you wake up from the hospital. So just don't do it, take your baby steps, and work your way up slowly. Number 5, eating a big meal before a session. This one might be obvious to some, but for the ones that's not, well, now you hopefully know. It's kind of like having a full meal and then going out and bouncing on a trampoline and doing backflips and all that. What comes in is most likely going to come out, or if you're just lucky, I guess, you won't feel good and you'll just end up having a bad session. A light carbohydrate filled meal can actually be really good for you an hour or two before you go skate, because it'll give your body a boost of energy and it'll let you skate harder for longer. But don't go out there and eat a huge meal and then hit the skate park. You'll end up feeling sluggish and you just won't really want to skate that hard. Number 6, taking yourself too seriously. Okay, so you got a bit of experience skating and maybe you're even better than some of the people at your local. Now what? They should really put up a statue of you, right? You're the man, and then whoops, guess what? Next time you come in there, you just seem to have a really bad session. You end up missing a lot of the tricks that you can usually land, and you get more and more mad every time you don't land one, to the point that you're throwing a Kanye tantrum in the middle of a skate park, saying how they don't have the answers, Sway.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
Kanye.
I've been doing this more than you.
Doing what
You ain't
more
got.
than me?
You ain't got the answers.
Kanye,
You ain't got the answers.
I'm asking you
You
a
ain't been doing the
question.
education.
Bro.
Regardless, if you're a fresh beginner or an experienced skater, it's important not to take yourself too seriously. I mean, I guess it's technically a personality thing more than anything, and me saying this won't change anything for some people, but just because you're good at skating does not mean that you will have bad days, and just because you might be older than everybody else at the skate park and just starting out, don't get pissed off that some 12-year-old can tray flip and you're just learning ollies. Just know that everyone started out where you are, and there will always be people that are way better than you. So don't take yourself too seriously, laugh it off when you fall in a funny way, and don't think that you have to act tough or any other bullshit just to be accepted by other skaters, because typically they don't really care anyway. Number 7, concentrating too hard on learning tricks. Skateboarding has a lot of aspects to it, and there can be a huge variety of reasons for why you got into it. And sometimes you'll find yourself concentrating so hard on repeating the movements of an ollie that you completely forgot why you started skating in the first place. Just do what you want to do, and get better at that instead of trying to appeal what everyone else likes in skateboarding. If you like to cruise and just go downhill and slide around, just do more of that. Or if you've always liked balancing, maybe manuals and manual tricks are your thing. Just try out a variety of things and you'll eventually find out what you like doing most. There are so many different styles in skateboarding for you to choose from, and that's what honestly makes it so amazing. Always remember that skateboarding isn't a constant competition where skill level matters. If you're just having a good time at the end of the day, that's all you really need, and that's all that really matters. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like, and also if you're new and you haven't seen my channel before, or you have, make sure to subscribe, because I upload videos like this at least once a week, sometimes 2 even if I'm feeling generous. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.